We have another guest coming in now. We have Ursula Jacob. Delighted to have you, Ursula. Just run through the read here. So it's ahead of this weekend's AIB Senior Camogie Club All-Ireland Championship semi-finals. Sarsfield's at Galway up against Schlockneil at Derry in Breffni Park. And then also Scarf Oganlo against your own Oulart Dabala. You are the champions. So this year's AIB Club Championship celebrate #the toughest players in Gaelic games. Those who keep going and persevere no matter what. So delighted to have you on, Ursula. How's things with you?
Not too bad. Hope you're well too.
Yeah, my internet's acting a little funny, so I might let Michael ask you one or two of the questions.
No bother, Ursula. Good to see you again. You must have been, just looking back on the All-Ireland success before Christmas, that must have been a bit of a whirlwind. You'd been a while away from that scene. I'd imagine, like with all the mothers within the camp, some of the elder stateswomen within the camp as well, you must have got a great joy out of that.
Yeah, I think it was the sweetest win for us, to be honest. You know, thankfully, it was our third All-Ireland over a span of 10 years. So it's quite phenomenal that, you know, a lot of us are still playing and have won the 3 All-Irelands. But I suppose maybe what made it extra special was the fact that we fought so hard for the games to be played. And then when they actually did happen, you wanted to make it worthwhile. And look, we came through 4 seriously tough games, 2 in Leinster and then the All-Ireland semi and the final. And to be honest, it's no wonder the competition is called the toughest, because the standard of camogie, obviously on a county scene is so high, but at a club level as well, it's top class. And look, there's something unique and special about playing for your club, and to win a third All-Ireland back in December was just super special.
Can I just ask you, Ursula, I often wonder, it looked like from an outsider looking in that your time had passed even in Wexford, let alone at All-Ireland level. Were there conversations, meetings, were you getting calls, were you all ringing around each other saying that we need to give this another rattler to, or there's a bit more left in us? Because when you've lost for a couple of years and you were used to winning, I'd imagine, I don't know, I just get the feeling that there were lots of meetings and conversations behind the scenes kind of stealing you and getting you ready for last year.
Well, look, I suppose there was maybe a stubbornness in the group, and that's how I probably describe it. We were probably disappointed that for a few years in Wexford, you know, we were reaching the county final, and we narrowly lost to St. Martin's in a couple of those games. And, you know, there obviously was a lot of outside talk saying that, you know, this Oulart Dabala team were probably past it, and, you know, some other teams in Wexford were going to dominate and take over. But I suppose sometimes when a challenge is posed to you, and it's not that you take into consideration all these outside noises or what's going on in the media, but it can prove to be a motivation. And I suppose probably there was a shift in attitude in the last couple of years. We said, look, we just want to get back to winning ways, and our sole focus 2 years ago was to get back and win our county title. You know, we didn't look past that. We knew it was going to be a huge challenge, and I don't know, there was something different about when COVID and that whole lockdown scenario came. I would just describe it that there was this individual responsibility that I'd never seen before within the group. You couldn't rely on the collective group sessions, so we had to do all these sessions on our own. And maybe it was the best thing ever for us, because it really showed whether or not we had the motivation to go again. Because for many of us, we have won pretty much every honour in the game. So maybe some people said, look, sure, you've done it all. But I just think, I feel personally, as I get older, I appreciate everything that bit more, and every game is a bonus. And I think that's the attitude the past 2 years in particular, because we just had this steely determination to say we knew there was this talent within the group, and we knew it was there. It was just getting our performance out on the pitch. And, you know, I think we've done pretty good in the last 2 years in particular.
You definitely have. I think stubbornness and ignorance can be problematic in normal life, but in sport, I think they're hugely beneficial. Just a quick one, Ursula, on Mary Lacey's injury, and even I was just reading about James Owens going to, I think his name is Donald Gammy O'Connor, and the oxygen chamber that he has in Enniscorthy. Can you just talk me through that? I know Mary raved about what it did for her, and it obviously has done a lot for James as well. Can you just talk me through that process and even what Mary has done even to get on the pitch?
Yeah, well, it's Oonas, just to say.
Oonas, sorry, apologies, yeah.
No, you're grand. Look, at Mary would kill you if you were saying that she had to get into an oxygen chamber. So, look, at most people would know at this stage, Una has had every injury under the sun with her knees. She pretty much hasn't got much left within the knees. And in the Leinster final last year against Thomastown, she came off in that game at a late stage. And to be honest, we knew we were facing Schlockneil in the All-Ireland semi-final the following week. And look, it's no, Una wouldn't mind me saying this, but you know, it has become a common thing that Una has been injured, and my God, she has shown such resilience and character to come back. But I remember saying to a few of the girls after the game, we're just going to have to focus on Schlockneil without Una. I felt there was no way she could actually play a game 7 days later. And lo and behold, anyway, I think we had a recovery session just after the Leinster final the next day. Una was not able to walk. Come Friday, Una felt like she was 10 years younger, and I was like, what's going on? Like, you know, in the space of 5 or 6 days. So she had pretty much been in the chamber 3 to 4 times that week. And from Una's point of view, it's been a lifesaver. She said jokingly after the All-Ireland, it's a pity she didn't know about this 10 years ago, because like she just couldn't speak any higher of it, you know. And Donal, well, Gammy is what we call him, has been a great support to her, and she's got so much use from it. And even it was so interesting, I wouldn't have realised that James Owens had used it as well. And it's nice to give someone like Gammy a shout out, because it's obviously working wonders. And Una just says it completely relaxes her. It helps her with her recovery. It helps her with her preparation for the games. Because look, Una's not going to recover from all the injuries that she suffered over the years, but if it keeps her going and keeps her in the maintenance to be able to play a game, well, that's all she's looking for at this stage.
Yeah, I think there'd be a lot of people heading down to Enniscorthy, I'd say, to make use of that. Me included, and many other people in their 30s, I'd say. Ursula, can I just have a quick word about what it was like? I always wonder when your son or daughter of a legendary figure like you are with your father Mick, what's that like growing up? Did you ever feel pressure or expectation on you to deliver on the pitch?
Never felt pressure or expectation, but I have to say, like, when we used to be going to Crow Park for the games, and when we were younger, the easiest way to truck us all up to Crow Park was going on the train. And my God, the crack we would have. And Daddy would, the best thing about Dad, he gives everyone the time of day. It doesn't matter if he knows them, if he doesn't know them. If they'll talk hurling to him, he'll be there all day with him. So we used to have great fun, and it was so nice when you were younger. You know, you felt like you had this kind of famous father, and you're kind of like, who's that you're talking to? And he wouldn't even know himself, but sure to be looking for his predictions on the Wexford game, and sure Daddy would always give the same response: Wexford are going to win, you know. So it was great. And look, from a pressure point of view, none of us ever felt any pressure. I definitely didn't. You know, we always just respected what both Mum and Dad did. Took loads of advice from him, and obviously wanted to do him proud. But to be honest, Mum and Dad will always be there for us, win, lose our job. But I tell you, between himself now and Margaret Lacey, Mary and Una's mother, who's another legend of the game of camogie, the two of them are like extra members of the management team, because they're down in the pitch as much as any of us, keeping an eye on things. And it's great to see the likes of them who probably had a difficult enough couple of years being locked, you know, in cocooning and isolating. And now it's like these games keep them going. Like, I just see so much joy in my dad's eyes when he's there at the matches. It doesn't matter if it's us playing in the All-Ireland semi-final or it's a practice match down in the pitch. He just gets joy from the game of hurling and camogie. So, yeah, he still probably thinks he could be centre back for Wexford too. But look at it, we try to keep him. And he's a big head, you know, and keep the ego down at times.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of people like your dad and Margaret Lacey, just absolutely starved of hurling or camogie or football, and just love him being down in the field now. Just on the family angle as well, what was it like growing up? I'd imagine there was a fair bit of scalping between yourself and Mick and Rory and a few more in the back garden.
Yeah, well, look, at our next door neighbours were Mark and Keith Rossiters. So as you can imagine, we were just thrown in, myself and my sister Helena were just thrown in on the front lawn with the rest of the lads. And to be honest, The only reason the games used to end was it would always end in a row. So, you know,
that sounds familiar. That sounds very familiar.
So I know in fairness, we used to have, as I would say, mini AllIrelands out the front of the front lawn. We had a nice big lawn when we were growing up, and it would usually be the boys against the girls if it was just the four of us. And sure, Michael would always go in the goal, and myself and Helena would be against Rory out in the front. But I'd get Helena to do all the donkey work, and I'd stand in on the edge of the square. So maybe things haven't changed, but yeah, we used to, in fairness, we had great crack, and sure, the lads used to be over regularly. You know, Keith Rossiter, obviously a renowned Wexford hurler, and you know, sure, it toughened you up fairly quickly, and it prepared you for some of the big days out on the pitch.
No, without a doubt, yeah. Just about some of your work with the Sunday game and the punditry work, is that something you really enjoy, or it's a great thing to be involved in once you finish playing? Apart from management or coaching, I'd imagine it's a great way of still feeling involved and keeping your finger on the pulse as well.
Yeah, and look, it was a massive opportunity that I suppose I probably never felt I was going to ever get, but it just worked out that way. It was complete accident, really. I would have started doing the bit with the camogie side of things, and then was asked to come on board with the hurling. And look, it's a massive opportunity. It's a lot of hard work, not the most glamorous job at times, but it's something I enjoy. And in particular, in the last couple of years, when, as you know yourself, when people couldn't get to the matches, it was a privileged position that we were in, that at least we were able to get to the games. But it's great to have the supporters back, you know, in saying that. But yeah, look, it's a bit surreal still that you're sitting, you know, beside the likes of Davy Fitzgerald or Anthony Daly, these guys that when I was younger, like, I'd still have huge amount of admiration. And it's nice that we're maybe breaking down the barriers, that whether it's myself or Anna Geary or whoever, I don't see any reason why David Fitzgerald can't talk about the camogie match as much as I can't talk about hurling. You know, some people struggle to see past that at times, but try to do a good job and keep up with the games. And look, I really do enjoy it, but it is a lot of hard work too, but one that I hope to continue for a while.
Just that what you said about some people struggling with it, like, would people be commenting stuff to you on Twitter or anything like that? Because I know even from writing, people always disagree with what I say and are always quick to say whatever. Do you find that similar because you're obviously more exposure when on the TV and that?
Yeah, well, look, to be honest, I stay private on all social media channels, because, to be honest, I think Twitter is probably the worst of them all. If you make any sort of mistake, God forbid, you're attacked straight away. So, to be honest, I'd never go looking for any of the comments. I'm sure there's plenty out there. Like, as you said, when you're writing a column as well, people will always give their opinion. Not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to like, you know, Davy Fitzgerald, but I suppose as long as I know I'm doing an okay of a job, it is hard at times though, because you know there is those kind of people that are out there, but a lot of these people are anonymous. There's going to be trolls, unfortunately. It doesn't seem to matter what happens out in the world, whether something bad happens or good happens. People are there always ready to knock you down. But to be honest, I just try to focus on the positives, and I have good people around me. No one close to me will ever allow me to get too big-headed about anything, and they'll be quick enough to tell me if I'm not doing something right. So they're the people I listen to. But sometimes it is hard and it can get in on you a little bit. But I just try to focus on what I'm doing, and I don't get too caught up. I don't get carried away by loads of praise, and I don't get carried away by loads of criticism. So I think you can kind of keep a level ground. That's the best advice that I can kind of go with.
Yeah, with a rural upbringing, no more than myself, you'll always be kept your feet on the ground anyway. There's nothing surer than that. Just a quick word, Ursula. Have you been surprised with Wexford started league in the hurling league? I think there was a lot of not negativity, shall we say, but after the Walsh Cup, maybe people were maybe worried maybe about what Wexford were going to produce in the league. Then all of a sudden, you know, you beat the All-Ireland champions first time out, and then you go down to Clare and you beat them as well, and you have 2 wins in a row. Like, it has, like, Dara Egan's definitely hit the ground running from the off.
Yeah, look, I definitely, you know, I hold my hand up as well. I would have been very, very worried for Wexford going into that Limerick game, because I felt they had a strong team coming up to Wexford Park. And I remember going in with my dad to that game, and maybe we weren't overly optimistic. I suppose after getting such a trimming against Dublin, in fairness, Dublin have been flying it and they're unbeaten this year, but I still would have been worried. But look, I have to say I've been really impressed with the turnaround. They've kind of shown a little bit of a kind of bite in them, and kind of maybe they were hurting from that defeat against Dublin. And the last 2 days, I think we have kind of stuck to I know Darragh Egan would have spoke that he was going to maybe change up their style, but I actually think the shorter game suits Wexford, and I think it's working quite well at the moment. And they'll be really happy. If you would have said to me a couple of weeks ago, we would have had a win against Limerick and Clare, because Wexford struggled against Clare the last few years. So it's definitely a positive start. I think a lot's going to tell the next day, in the next couple of weeks, how they'll get on against Galway. I know they've Offaly coming up as well. So look, it's positive for Wexford at the moment, especially when we're kind of without our main talisman, Lee Chin, Kevin Foley, a few of these guys to come back in as well. So credit to Darragh and his management team. They're doing a great job so far anyway.
Just lastly, Ursula, going back to your game this weekend, you obviously have Skerries for Gunlow. I think it's in Clonmel Commercials, which is obviously halfway between the two. How have you found, the come down of the celebrations of the All-Ireland? Usually it's 2 or 3 months of a pre-season and you're kicking back in, but no more than, would say, Rhinus in the intermediate. You're gone straight in, All-Ireland champions, a chance to win 2 All-Irelands in the space of 2 to 3 months, which would just be unreal. How have you found that kind of moving from one season to the next, basically straight into each other?
Yeah, look, it was probably a little bit, difficult. I suppose we thoroughly enjoyed the win in December and we celebrated, fully deserving to as well. And obviously, we had Christmas, my wedding and a couple of things. But once kind of January came, we kind of refocused and said, look, what we did in 2021, brilliant, but we kind of have to park it for the moment. And we had a couple of weeks then of training before we played Dicksboro in the Leinster final. But probably when we kind of properly reflect on it now, we probably did go in a little bit cold into that game, because Dicksboro would have had the semi-final win over St. Jude's, and I felt they probably looked that little bit sharper than us, because even though training had been going very well, I just think you can't beat playing a championship game. So I'm thrilled that we got over the line in the Leinster final and we got a good game behind us. And I suppose the last 3 weeks now we've kind of been fully focused on Scariff, and look, we're going in fully aware the huge challenge that Skerries are going to pose to us. They're a top class team. They've won 2 out of the last 3 Munsters, and like I remember watching them a couple of years ago against Schlockneal, and they could have easily beaten them. So we know our performance in the Leinster final is not going to be good enough to beat Skerries. So we've definitely been working hard, but as you said, it's all happening in such a short space of time. You're trying to time things well in terms of your training, in terms of your hurling, all of that. So hopefully we've got things right, and a lot will obviously tell on Sunday, but we're really looking forward to it, and it's a good complaint if you've got lots of games coming.
Well, Ursula, congratulations on the All-Ireland, congratulations on getting married, and best of luck this weekend, and thanks a million for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.